4, and
we are go, engage. It is a Friday edition of All Things 3D. Today is September 12th.
Chris, is there any other edition?
Yeah, it's our Friday edition. It's All Things 3D in Review.
3D in Review.
It's 3D in Review. That's what we do on Friday. And
because we're fools.
Chris.
Everybody else is enjoying their Fridays, and what do?
We're podcasting.
Get up in the morning.
We're enjoying ourselves. Hey, you know, it's a reason to get up in the morning and get fired up about things going on. We're coming to you live from the Central Coast of California.
And I stayed up late, like 3:30 in the morning, so that I could have some cool things to show you today.
There you go. Okay. Well,
it's going to be a good show and tell.
Okay, cool. Well,
hey, say hi to Andy.
And there's Andy, our little 3D guy in the back of Mike there. And so I'm coming to you live from Paso Robles. Mike, my co-host here, he's in San Luis Obispo.
No, I'm not. I'm in the foggy coastline of Morro Bay today.
Okay.
It's dark, gloomy, and gray.
Awesome. So, and today we're going to talk about, obviously, it's our Friday edition. We like to talk about news items that happened this week in the 3D realm. There's a lot of stuff always going on. This is just like
It just seems like it's never ending, doesn't it?
It's never ending. That's why we're here, to try to help kind of dissect it all and maybe try to touch on some of these items so that people can, you know, help follow along and not have to pay such close attention like we do.
Hey, you just went black. Oh, never mind.
Oh, so there we go. I'm going to show you my first item here is one that I read. It's maybe not so much of a news item, but I thought it was notable. This guy over here at Taranvh, TARANVH.com, he posted an article that's Lego Technic pieces that should exist but don't. And he's a guy that has some Lego Technic pieces that he dissected their existing Lego pieces and found ones that are missing. So, you know, he's going up. There's an 8, a 16, a 24, and a 40 tooth, but no 32 tooth. And, you know, I mean, if you're working on a project and you need a 32 tooth or a 28 tooth or...
So what is he using to create these? Does he
you know, I don't know if I saw the exact software that he's using. He just identified what he doesn't, and then if you go down in the bottom here, there's actually a link to his files.
Click on the 3D print folder.
3D printed, and these are the STLs.
So are they STLs?
They're all STLs, and so he has some STLs that you can go in and download of missing Lego pieces, which, you know, I think is really cool because not only does it help expand your projects, because, you know, people that are even prototyping, even professionals use Legos. Yes, you heard me right. Professionals use Legos, or at least learn or conceptualize with Legos. But most importantly, I think, is kids. You know, they work with Legos and they draw a lot of inspiration from Legos, and this is, I think, a really good, you know, a really good expansion, way to express yourselves.
I wasn't going to do it, but see if I can find it. Well, if we have some time during one of your chats, I'll look for it. But did you see the link that I sent out? Well, if you don't follow Twitter, there's a guy who's taken Lego blocks and created a fully automated little robot band. And it's pretty cool. So if I can find that, we'll play that as our end song. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Hey, that's pretty cool. I was a big Lego player back in my day, and we're talking way back before they had any of these cool sets that they have now. But you know, now that Lego has, what's the word? Their patent has expired. You can now create Legos without any fear of reprisal. So it's good to see that. So maybe we should reach out to this guy. So send me a link and we'll have him on. We'll find out more of how he designed them and his motivations besides the article.
There you go. Let's do it.
So what do I have for us today?
Show us.
I'm going to.
Good.
On screen number 2. So,
SpiderBot.
so this is yeah, the SpiderBot, and it's not necessarily the Delta printer that impresses me the most, but it is, dun dun dun, the dual extruder.
Oh.
Notice in this particular image here, you have two different materials, and here it is.
Oh.
So one of the things that they identify specifically is that they can run their nozzles very close together, which in most cases are further apart. So that allows you to have finer, I don't know, finer detail, but a more standardized pattern as they're showing here.
Huh.
Now, obviously, that's an illustration, so I'm thinking, oh, great, all they've got is some renders. They don't actually have a product, but like all these things, we do have a YouTube video that we can show. But here it is, and it looks pretty cool. I'm assuming these are the heat sink, heat dissipating wafers, and your two hot ends obviously are in here. And yeah, it looks pretty neat, and it looks like it would probably fit almost directly. I'd have to change the plate, but it'll fit on my Costco Clear, so I'm going to see about getting one. So we'll play some of the video here. Do you hear the sound?
No.
Okay, so it's only me. But the problem is that, and I'll go ahead and, is that on our audio broadcast that we do, our podcast that we do later, I record it and it does show up. So when we were doing the interview with the doctor, Dr. Cleos, the radiologist, we had his stuff playing in the background, so it was a little annoying, but it wasn't too bad. So as you can tell, it's printing on the left-hand side, the green material, and the white is obviously on the right-hand side. Pretty neat, huh?
Very cool.
So I don't have a price yet, so a couple things. I will look up and see how much it costs, and also see if they are interested in coming on.
What's the name of this company that's making this?
It is a French company, and it actually doesn't give it a name. So,
is it the same people from SpiderBot?
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
So I don't know if they'll be selling their extruders separately or not. I sure hope so. It looks like it's small enough to fit most extruders, or Delta printers out there. In fact, why just leave it to Deltas? But obviously, it's a small head using a Bowden type extrusion process. One of the things that I've noticed with a lot of them, and I mentioned this to Ultimaker, which also uses a Bowden on their Ultimaker 2 and their first version, is that they feed it from the bottom and it comes through a tube. And some people have been complaining about their extruder jamming a lot. And I'm just wondering, I'm planning to retrofit mine so that it extrudes from the top. So I'm either going to go with one of those all-metal Bowden extruders that we've seen in the past, or just use one of the ones that I've got already, and then mount it with some V-slot or some type of bracket above it, and then channel the filament from above instead of from the bottom, and see if that will help.
I've been having quite a few jamming issues myself over here on the all-metal hot end, so I'm still trying to overcome some of those issues.
Yeah, but were you having a lot of problems with your first version? I mean, before you put in the all-metal?
No. No, I think like we've talked about, is retraction plays a key role, obviously, because there's a little bit larger throw on the all-metal that I'm using. So, and I think the design, there's still room on the version I have. Mine's not an E3D. I got just a J-head compatible one, because I wanted to use the same mounting setup. So I bought a cheapo off eBay. And it works really good when it works, but in between prints, if I stop, if I go on to the next print, I kind of have to get it ready. I have to like prime it basically. And
yeah, that's what I'm having to do with my Ultimaker. As I've said before, after every print job, I pretty much remove the filament if I'm not going to be using it for a while. And there's been people who have been complaining that if you switch from PLA to ABS, for some reason the ABS doesn't completely cleanse itself, and then it
Yeah.
mixes in with the PLA, and then it creates.
I see some inherent like so basically what I have is I have these two printer my two main, FDM FFF style printers are the Stratasys and the big Fortis machine. It's a direct drive extrusion, and then I have this the Rostock, which is a Bowden style. And I see a lot of advantages for print quality in the direct drive system, and I see a lot of things that reasons why it might be better as far as an actual extrusion. As far as speed and lightweightness on the head mount, there's advantages obviously with the Bowden setup, but I think for
And that's why.
quality wise and driving the material, you have more head pressure, if you will, with the
Well,
direct drive.
well, it's more direct as well. It's closer to the actual nozzle,
Yeah.
and that's what I've mentioned before. Sure, it's you have a lighter um, hot end because you don't have the NEMA 17 or motor on the back of it, so you don't need that structure and the support structure in order to hold the weight. But what I have found is that because the Bowden has to push it, I'd say at least a foot up into the hot end, I find that you can't actually use that extra performance from having a lighter head because you can't feed the extruder fast enough. So it doesn't seem like you're really taking any advantages in that respect. You lose it because you can't push it fast enough. So I guess if you get everything tuned perfectly, but like we have found out, it's a tuning process to get things running unless you spend the money, like you have with the Stratasys. So
Then it's already tuned.
yeah,
Hopefully.
okay, yeah, hopefully, but you can have people that come out and do
Yeah.
that. All right, we'll go on to our next item. Sorry.
Okay. Our my basically my this is my biggie for the week that I saw. This was pretty awesome. Was a oh, let me turn that down.
Oh, is this the one where the guy's trying to print an entire car?
This is Local Motors. They actually have successfully printed the Strati, which is a new 3D printed car that they designed, including the chassis. The frame is actually 3D printed, and this is this is a world
What's the
first.
frame made out of?
It looks like ABS to me. I think they're printing it on a giant ABS printer. Um, they basically had a preview model, or a preview of the car, and then they've been tweeting about it. But yeah, this is the entire chassis and body printed as one piece here, and they've been tweeting about it. So you can find out more at Local Motors, localmotors.com. And
Yeah,
this is one
it's
of
in the
their
news, and it looks like Ellen Kate is the person that is blogging about it there.
and at the end of today, which this was 2 days ago, the Strati was about 40% complete, including the installation of the front suspension, the battery, the motor, and steering rack, according to this article. Um,
So my question is, you said the
yeah,
frame itself is made
yeah,
out of plastic.
yeah.
Are they making all the components out of plastic?
No, not. I mean, obviously, not all the components. You can't make an electric motor out of plastic quite yet, but um,
Actually, somebody has.
oh, they have a
Other
full
than,
electric motor though.
well, except
You've got to have metal components in there somewhere, right?
that's true. Well, there is an
So
exotic material, but that's besides the point. So very cool.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So I thought that was a newsworthy item. Kind of a world first. So it's the actual chassis, the whole car, 3D printed.
well, mine's going to be anticlimactic. This one is of interest to me. This particular article I'm showing is by Heidi Milkert, but from 3dprint.com. But I've seen it already all over the place. And it's a company out of, well, they appear Asian, so I don't know if they're actually from Asia. But they've created this 5 foot, should I dare say, monstrosity um, that pretty much has the capability of printing in full color. And when we say full color, we mean the full gamut of colors, CMYK, that you would get from an inkjet printer. And it appears that they're using a sintering type technique where they lay down layers. I see you grimacing over there, Chris.
Oh no, I'm just squinting and look at the.
So it appears that they printed something out, and
I'm trying to read
yeah.
What it is. Wow.
Yeah, I'm up magnified. So it looks real interesting, but the most important thing in the build side is fairly large, and then print resolution. I don't know if they're identifying the color resolution. You know, obviously you don't identify 3D print resolution like this, but I'm assuming that's the color. I don't understand what they mean by prototyping. Is that one of the settings? Is 10 millimeters per hour? I don't know if that's good or bad. And then
well, is it? And it's a sintering machine, so it's 10 millimeters per hour. Yeah, I mean, that's probably in the Z direction, I would imagine. So
I'm thinking so. I don't know.
Fast. Yeah, I mean that's
really what I'm thinking is that I've seen other things that were at like 0.2 inches, so I think that's comparable. However, it is a large printer, as identified. It's 5 feet tall, and then the weight obviously is 154. So it's not something that you're going to put in the back of your VW Bug any day. But having it set up and having true sintering. So they talk about how they work for 6 years to create this special mixture that allows them. They're not using lasers. They're using probably some type of adhesive process. And so here they compare it with other printers out there, including some of the higher priced units. And they talk about powder binder. So I have a feeling very similar to the M Core, except instead of using paper and cutting, they're using a powder.
Or even the Z Corp. The Z Corp is basically...
Yeah, their 3D System ProJet 660 is very similar to that as well. Don't know, but they did identify that this thing for Kickstarter is going to be $3,000.
Wow.
And then after the first 30, it goes up to $34.99, and then after the first 80, up to $4,000. A lot of people are saying, okay, is this a dream? $3,000 when you look at the price of a ProJet at $100,000. How are they doing this? Can they do it? They're looking to get at least $10,000 on Kickstarter to move forward with this. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, so it's hard for me. Kickstarters.
And notice the 3D Pandoras looks a lot like 3D System. Did you notice that? The cube?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's hard for me to well, I mean, he's got a compass and an eraser and a pencil, and she's got headphones on.
Beat headphones at that.
Oh, she's programming. Arduino. 3D Pandoras. Ooh. Shading. Componentry.
Wow, they got a lot of LEDs.
Placing that resistor.
Well,
circuit board
obviously
design.
This is a promotional video.
Yeah, no, I mean it looks like they did a great job on the video, and it looks like they've got real people that know how to make stuff working on it, and they've at least got a preview build of some software here, it looks like, and it's hard for me it would be really hard for me to spend $3,000 on a printer without ever even handling a real piece that came off of it. When I shop for a 3D printer, the first thing I do is I go and ask for a sample or look at a sample piece that was built.
Yeah, so or actually see it in operation. So
yeah, or see it, and I like to see it in person in operation. Even Brad Hill's printer, I probably wouldn't have committed to one had I not seen the pieces in real life, or at least in images.
If it wasn't handed to you directly in your hands.
Yeah. So I rely primarily on trade shows
Yeah.
or to go and preview these machines. But
But that's what Kickstarter is for, and
wow, that's the machine for
yeah,
$3,000.
I know. It's if this is what they can pull off. But I mean, this is kind of funky. They're pulling out a Barbie doll. I mean, obviously, nothing's going to create that kind of print quality. Um, so,
Oh,
oh look, little.
oh yay!
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to feed
Oh
my dog over
yeah!
there.
Put a limit on my desire.
Well,
This is great.
yeah,
I
it's a
can't
cute
wait to
little.
watch this. This is funny.
Well, they've been getting a lot of news. Obviously, they're on all the major blogs.
A
Oh
full
God.
color for 3,000. How on earth? Wow, great. That's pretty insanely good quality for. And I wonder how they're skirting around patent issues.
Yeah, well, that's what's real interesting. They really talked about in the articles that they have their own method, but obviously it looks very similar, and their icon looks very similar to 3D System. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
we'll
who
see.
knows? Yep.
So, well, cool.
On
Well,
to your next item.
yeah, on to my next. It's kind of a similar topic that we can talk about, which is this one here is also 3dprint.com by Brittany Sevenson. And CreatorBot, India's affordable 3D printer unveiled, weighs under 7 pounds, priced under $500, they're saying. So they just keep coming, it says, and here it is. It looks kind of like a PrinterBot Simple, kind of similar design, and it's a little kind of 3D printer. It's a 5 by 5 by 5 inch build envelope, up to 100 micron resolution in the Z height.
Yeah, but it's another printer with an open design,
Yep.
and
But for under $500,
that go down. That looks like a prototype there.
yeah.
So
So pretty cool. I mean, it to me it looks almost exactly like same concept as the PrinterBot Simple, which
yeah,
is a
or
lot
that
of people are really loving for the $500 price tag. I've been here, or the PrinterBot Metal is the one that everybody is saying they really like for the simplicity. For a real bare bones cheap printer, it's turning out to be a real great one. So. But yeah, just so that was another little news item. It's called CreatorBot. So people that are looking for
another option.
another option, head on over to creatorbot.com. We'll give them a little plug.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a handle.
Yeah, check
Well,
it
that
out.
right there makes it worth it. Okay, let's actually. Our little RP has a handle too.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Okay, on to my next item. This is eXtrudy. So if you're an Android user, which I am, or if you have an Android tablet, they have a free 2D to 3D app released for Android tablets. So I don't know if it'll actually work on a phone. But if you've got an Android tablet and you want to do some 2D extrusion, and if you don't know what that is, it's essentially taking 2D artwork and pushing out the Z so you can get relief and extruded type objects. And they show some examples here. So it would be good for creating jewelry with, and obviously that's kind of interesting, a Q code. I think I'm going to do that. That's kind of fun. But, and obviously somebody's what is that, Catching Fire, that series.
I love the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
They're great.
So you've been watching the Hunger Games? Or did you read the books?
No, I'm not really a fiction reader, so I stick to the movies.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
I read mostly nonfiction. I'm just boring like that.
Yeah, Siobhan hates them, but I kind of looking forward to the next one. I thought they
Oh,
were
I
okay.
love the movies. The movies were great.
Yeah, well, there's a good reason for that. By the way, did you see
Go the underdog.
the X-Men, the latest X-Men movie, where
No,
this
I heard it was really good.
where Jennifer Lawrence was in that one as well?
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I didn't see it.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
actually fairly good.
the
So,
one that I really miss that I've been missing that I wanted to see, um, is that Guardians movie because there's a lot of good
oh, I saw
CGI
it.
special
It
effects.
it's
We
worth
don't make
going
it to
to.
the movies that much. I'm just a workaholic, so I just
Yeah.
invited my
Well,
desk.
no, yeah, you're going to Big Sur. They don't have that many theaters
Oh
up
yeah,
there.
they don't have that many theaters there either.
No. Okay, so onto it. So if you want a free application that you can tinker with to essentially extrude 2D objects, head out and try this application. I
Sweet.
have, and it's a neat little product and creates STA files. So I think you've got a link out to, I'd have to like iMaterialize. I don't know if they do shapeways, but I've noticed this has been a trend of being able to export directly to some of these sites.
So where can
Head
we
out.
where can we get to eXtrudy? Is it eXtrudy
Oh, well, go out to the Android
or
Play Store and
right
just
on
put in.
of the Android Play Store? Is it non-Android as well?
No, well,
No,
actually, I do not know.
don't know.
That's all they're identifying.
eXtrudy.
Let's see.
eXtrudy.
They're
So if I
wondering
type
how
in
well it'll work before porting
eXtrudy,
it to iOS. So they do not have an
oh,
iOS version yet.
this is eXtrudy. Download. See what they have. Microsoft Windows XP or higher. But this might be
Yeah, it just says that it works on ARM-based
eXtrudy.
Android tablets currently. So,
Huh.
so as you can see in the video here,
Medium
you bring in an object, it automatically allows you to modify it to create a high contrast black and white image, and then from there you can take it and extrude or what's the other word? Engrave if you want to. So kind of a neat thing, and it's a nice little tool. Obviously, if you're, and that's going to be my product of the week, so I'll just leave it for that. If you're into MeshMixer, which I am, I'll show you how to do that very easily in that application. Maybe not today, but we can do it on that. So if you're a Windows or a Mac person. So I was hoping that Jesse would join us today, and it doesn't appear that he's going to. But we'll talk about them in a little bit. Okay, so you have one more item? No, or are you done? You're done.
I'm done for the day.
You are. Well, no,
Yeah.
you must have some items you want to talk about. What's your project of
Uh,
the week?
my product of the week. My
Project or product, yes.
yeah. So my product of the week is it's kind of boring, but we'll just get into it. It's Stratasys unveiled a new material for their machines.
Oh, I read about this.
Yeah. So ASA. It's just it's another FDM prototyping material. So you know,
What's what's the benefits?
some of the benefits are it has a little bit smoother surface finish for some things, and it has more. It combines the mechanical strength and UV stability with the best part aesthetics FDM technology has to offer. So it's kind of like the best. It's kind of a mix between polycarb and ABS. So it has like the structural of PC, and then it also has material resistance and kind of like the so here's the spec sheet on it. You can go read about it at Stratasys' website. So,
Okay.
and it's got really interesting mechanical properties. So it's just another material to kind of play with.
Is it cost differently?
I think the cost is around the same, but you're gonna find that fewer service bureaus um, probably run the material because it only runs in a few of their machines. And it's still an early machine, and not so you're not going to get the economies of scale that you'll get with ABS, regular ABS plus, um, or even polycarb from the service bureaus. So I would imagine that they're probably going to be it's probably slightly more expensive, but it might be a good fit for your prototyping if you need it to be an ASA, or if you want to try a new material out for your project. So that's my product of the week.
Okay. Well, it looks like you've got a couple of other projects. Earthenhouse. What's that about?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I could show that off. Let's see if I can bring that up. This is one I've been working on with my one of my friends from Chile. Let me pull this up in SolidWorks here. And he's basically making these. This was his graduate. This is his master's thesis, what he's been getting it on. It's an earthquake-ready house in Chile. They obviously have to deal with earthquakes, and so I've been doing the CAD modeling for this, but this is like a cheap, lightweight, easy to manufacture home that it has earthquake resistance, and so it's kind of an interesting, just an interesting.
Hmm. So when it's built at one time and then as time goes on and it crumbles, it's going to look like those things in, where is it?
Machu
Uh,
Picchu.
no, no, I'm talking out in the British Isle.
So there's like a bedroom here and a bedroom here, and then this is the bathroom, and this is your like simple living space. So it's like a smaller house. But I've been doing the 3D prints for him, and do 3D printing the models, and it's an open source design, open, and so he kind of wants to put it out there and kind of get it, into the hands of like other designers, architects, people that really put it up to the test, like that they can test it structurally. So he's kind of going around right now and trying to raise funding. He's also got some other exciting projects that he's working on for recycling phones and batteries and things like that. But this is the one that I've been helping him on and
Very
doing
cool.
3D modeling. So pretty fun.
Yep, very cool. Let's see. You also are doing modular spirulina garden. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of my favorites, is this spirulina. It's a it's a super green blue green algae. It's a superfood. Incredible for those people that don't know about spirulina. It is absolutely incredible. It's the highest known source of protein by volume or by weight on planet Earth, and you don't even need fresh water to grow it. You can grow it in brine water. So it's incredibly easy to grow. They're planning on using it for the human expeditions to Mars, because you could grow it on the spacecraft. It contains all the essential amino acids and things like that. So you can actually live off the stuff. I do. I practically live off the stuff. It's probably my primary protein source. As a vegan, a lot of vegans know about it, and but I'm trying to come up with a grow system for it. So I'm working with one of my friends um, on a modular grow system. There's been some Kickstarters. There's been one Kickstarter out there, and I don't think it was successful. But what I'd like to do is I just finished a book called Peace Microfarms, and it
Hmm.
really inspired me to kind of get into growing it and getting more people to grow it. And so that's another thing I've been working
Uh,
on.
I,
Really fun.
I can't say what I'm working on is as altruistic as yours, but the first project is kind of cool. And I finished printing them last night, and so I'll be heading to the dentist today to get them sent off. There is the filling.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's your actual filling. That's the negative that goes into your tooth.
well, actually, this is the positive, and then they'll cast it, and then
Wow.
because I used Made Solid's fire cast material, I didn't know it was yellow. They'll burn it out, which will leave no residue, and then they'll put gold alloy. And then I went ahead and printed out and this is my upper tooth portion. And it'll be hard to see because the material doesn't have much contrast, but this is where the cavity is. So as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, what I did is we scanned it with the intraoral, so you can go out and listen to the interview with Dr. Dan Kopp. He talks about the whole process. But we scanned it. He gave me the STL file, and what I did is I put literally a cube over the top of it, and then did a negative volume from it, which then left me with the cavity or the filling. So it was just a matter of cleaning out the filling and then putting it back into the cavity and then cleaning up the edges, which was actually a little more difficult than I thought it would be. Um, and then you have to take in consideration bite. So I also got a set of lower teeth. And how I adjusted for bite is I literally, again, um, did a Boolean subtraction from the filling, from the upper or the lower teeth, and that left the proper depressions in the tooth itself. So it should have a fairly good fit. So we'll send it off. They've also made a positive of the teeth here, and they'll see if it fits, and then clean it up a little bit if it doesn't, and because I don't know how much how accurate the Firecast material is yet. So we're going to take some measurements to see if there's any swelling or expansion in the actual. And this was done on a Form 1 in the UV resin process. But the thing that I have found already is that this is a time-consuming process. This took 2.5 hours at 25 microns, where normally with a milling machine there in the office, a CNC, they can do it in an hour. So I don't see how this is going to benefit them unless they can reduce that amount of time. Now, maybe in the long term, let's say a full bridge or something, you might be able to uh, do it for less time, but for something simple like this, obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. So, but it was an interesting project, and I guess next week we'll find out if it works or not.
Well, and I
So,
think I think there's something to be said though, is the kind of one of the advantages of additive versus subtractive would be you could achieve geometries that you maybe couldn't with milling, because milling machines do have limitations
yeah, no,
that
that's
additive does not, and as far as cost. So sometimes some things in subtractive can be a lot more costly because you have to start with a big block of something and then ship it away. Whereas with additive, you're essentially only using the material that you need. So,
yeah, I agree with you, but normally they build the cost of their milling machine if they buy the whole iTero scanning system. But it isn't cheap. Obviously, this was done on a Form 1, which is, I think, $3,000 versus a $25,000, $30,000 miller. So obviously there's a big difference in price there. But with the miller, they can do it right there in the office. And obviously you couldn't do that here. I was reading the information on the card for the Firecast resin, and it looks like the whole casting or the burnout is like 11 hours. So this is not something that you could do while the patient is waiting. So it'll be interesting. What I am hoping for, and I found another resin that's not FDA approved, but it doesn't have any harmful effects from another company, and I won't disclose them now until I actually get the resin. But that might be something to provide a really quick process if you needed to have it done. As far as the excess material, if they're going to be doing this out of alloy, they just remelt it and put it back into a block. So that's not a real issue in the subtractive. And plus, your blocks of material aren't that large. So on to my next project. So I guess that would be my more altruistic. Let's kind of go on to something that I've been working on, and it really was up to Yan from Quebec, which we've done an interview with. He does a lot of interesting things. If you remember the Huntress, so he's worked with me, and we created Me Stark some time ago, and I've shown that before, which is my what would you call it? Uh, Cosplay of Game of Thrones, but we were working on Siobhan. Well, a couple of things had to come together. One, a fairly accurate facial scanner, which we eventually have found to work with my 4 eyes and the structure sensor. So we're able to scan in faces. Now, this one was done with a prototype Fuel 3D, my face, but her face was done with a less cost. And Chris, we've done your faces before, so you can attest to that. The quality, in my opinion, is just as good using my lens system. And I was able to put my wife Siobhan's face on it, and we call her Lady Siobhan or Siobhan in Gaelic. And then I found some models, some wolves, and then kind of conformed them to look a little bit more like my little pups, but obviously 5 times larger, and then created a base for it, and then it's all ready to be printed. The only area of concern is possibly the shaft and how well it will print, but I'm thinking I may just remove it and put a dowel in there later on. So we'll see how that works out. But for the most part, they shouldn't require that much support. Um, I've had other objects that, like in the neck areas of the wolf here, that should print pretty good. So that will be my next project next week. Probably will build something maybe 6 inches across, so it should be fairly large, maybe in red, just like this. So that, and then another thing that I've been working on. Remember last week, Chris, we talked with the guy from who created the Ducati
yeah.
motorcycle? Well, I said, wouldn't it be cool if you had a writer? So I created what I call Ducati Girl, and obviously it probably relates back to one of the Matrix trilogy movies. Have you seen those, Chris?
Of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
So if you remember, I don't remember what her name
Which
was,
nerd hasn't? Come on.
but she comes in. I think she was actually on a Ducati at,
Her
in the
helmet needs
last.
to be a little bit bigger, Mike. Just
No,
saying.
I did it intentionally.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I wanted it to be slim.
It's a helmet of the future.
Exactly. Well, it's got all kinds of things. See, it's got networking processes on the, and these all are in red. But
I like
uh,
it.
it's
You did
pretty
a great
cool.
job on the model, Mike.
So I'm going to, well, again, it's a combination. You work with a, a amateur per se, and then you just build upon it, which is what I did here. But yeah, this helmet here took a little while because I wanted it to be different. I didn't want it really to be a face shield per se. I wanted it to be a segment that would just kind of lift up like the guy in the galaxy of the, or the Guardian of the Galaxies. So this is going to go on his motorcycle. I'm going to print one out for him in two pieces because it won't fit on my Form 1 as one. Send it to him so when we do the interview, he can actually have it to use on his motorcycle. So that'll be pretty cool. So that's my kind of projects that I'm working on. And my product, obviously, is the fun MeshMixer. They have come a long way with this application, and I have talked about it several times, and I was hoping Jesse would come on. But, Jesse from Autodesk, if a lot of people, let's see what we'll bring in. We'll actually bring in this model here. But MeshMixer allows you to bring in OBJs or STLs, and it has a lot of the tools to do organic modeling. And in the past, it seemed to crash a lot, but here we go. We brought it in. Now, I've actually gone in and cleaned up the model. If you notice, the rims have been filled in to make it a solid model, so you could literally print this if you wanted to on a Form 1. But if you remember, he's actually printed in multiple pieces because the intricacy of the components here obviously aren't going to do well on an FDM printer. So he's literally broken it up. But for my creation of the Ducati Girl, I needed a scale model to work from so that I could position and pose it so that it would fit properly on the bike. But as we've talked about before, you've got a series of tools. You've got sculpting tools, and I'll play with it real quick. Um, Actually, I normally use. I'll just go through them. You've got dragging tools, drawing tools, flattening tools, pretty much all the tools you want. And then your control key does the negative of it. So let's say in the draw, you can create a positive. And one of the things that you asked before, if you noticed, and then you can change the size and the strength. So you notice I'm holding the control key down, it engraves it. If I notice how it now creates a positive. But it's literally, if you haven't worked with it before, it's an excellent application to create a more organic feel to things. But it also has other tools. I mean, it has some great plane cutting tools that work really well. Plus, it has a great solid, and it's not the same solids that you work with in SolidWorks, but it does create a solid model. So it's fully enclosed, which is an excellent tool, and I use it all the time because it takes care of holes, and then you can modify the number of polygons as well with it, how well it defines it. And literally what it does is it takes the external surface and builds the volume from it. So it's a great tool to create an object from. But as you asked before, Chris, let's see if we can get to it. There we go. I shouldn't have pressed the button, damn it. Well, I wanted to hit on, there we go. So you asked me before, what printers? And if you remember, Jesse or somebody alluded to Stratasys. So here's the Stratasys models that this thing will print out directly to, as well as the MakerBots, and then a couple of Type A series. I don't know what those are, but
Did it say it will
currently,
go to a Fortis 250? It will.
yep.
Oh.
So you
Why is
may
it a
want to,
MeshMixer?
huh? Yep. So it might
Mm.
be something to play with yourself. But it's a great tool. I've got other tools that I use for organic processing, but I seem to come back to this. It creates some really tight polygons. I really like the layout. Sometimes it's too random, but they seem to organize it. So it's got a lot of benefits, and the best thing is the price of it is free. So cool product. Everybody should look at it if they want to do anything that's organic, and just for simple editing. It does a lot of cleanup work for STLs as well. So it's something to look at. Autodesk is really moving forward. They just won an award in London for best consumer software. And as you know, the Fusion 360 has been out there for free. They just created a subscription price for it. What did I write to you? It's like $30 a month or 130 a year if you are an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, if you're a commercial user, but if you're an entrepreneur or a student, it's free for 1 year. And that's a great tool and has a lot of big boy type solid modeling tools. So they're really coming forward with a lot of tools, and yeah, I really like moving forward with it. So that's my projects and products, and now it's for the print whisperer and his tip of the week. Take it
Well,
away.
yeah. So, my major one that I've been working on this week, obviously, has been this all metal hot end, trying to figure it out. I work with the Delta printer, and so obviously getting calibration right, getting the actual print height right. What I found is in the EEPROM, what you can actually do if you have an LCD is you can actually set the height of your print bed uh, on the actual LCD. So you can actually bring it down to the bed, and I do the paper trick. So I put a paper, and when it's just barely dragging, that's where I set the calibration point. So that's one tip is that you can do it right on the printer rather than having to do it on your computer. So I've had better luck. So that's one little tip. Um,
So that's the bed leveling that you're talking about?
yeah, yeah, or actually setting your 0 point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
Delta
something that I wish I had on my Castle Clear, so I may want to pull that code apart. So you're talking about the part of the Arduino code for the LCD that gives you that
Marlin
function.
firmware, yeah,
Yeah.
you can get in and you can actually do it on the printer rather than having to go through the process on your computer. It's a lot faster, and I've actually been having better results getting the correct bed height. So if you're putting a new head on your printer, which I've been doing, or making adjustments to the head, um, having the ability to do it quickly becomes very convenient. So for me to do it on there, you just do it under Delta calibration. If you go down to your configuration, you scroll through the LCD panel in the Marlin firmware. If you have it set up for Delta, I use the actual row stock firmware, so I think it's a variation of the Marlin. And then go to um, Delta calibration, and you can go to Z height fast, so you can quickly move the head down, and then you go and then you roll back one step, and then you do Z height, bring it down till it barely drags the paper, and then hit set calibration origin, and that will bring you to your 0, 0. Then you want to roll back to your main screen, and then on the computer, use the number for the Z height. When you home all axis, use the Z height as your actual printer setting height so that you can reflect your G code or the changes will be reflected on the computer if you're slicing on your computer. So that's my
Uh,
tip.
Thank you, Mr. Print Whisperer. Yeah, I totally have to agree with you. I've got LCD panels on all of my printers, and some of them are less sparse. Like I said, the Castle Clear doesn't have that feature, and I really wish I had it because it's a drag to have to hook it up to a computer, even though you can put it on a laptop. It just makes so much more sense to have an LCD panel. So again, thank you, and I think that's about it. Other than I want to identify that, hey, if you like our show and you want to help promote us and get something, I guess it wouldn't be for free, but at least something for your money, head out to our website, and there's a little donation can. You can donate 15, 20, or $30, and in return, we'll send you these cool, cool, cool coasters. It's my dog's hair on it. And they work really well. I'm surprised, I bought them just pretty much for people, but I have them all around. I really use them a lot. I don't like the little wet stains that occur on your furniture. So if you're interested in helping us out, we'd really appreciate it. It appears that Chris is taking care of his audio issues this week, but we can always make do for a little bit more technology to help us move things along. So that's it on
We
my end, Chris.
we appreciate our listeners and our listenership, and we will see you next week on All Things 3D.
Bye.